how to create a colourful design like this in Photoshop 221 or maybe 220, 219, etc. So what first thing to do is, I'm just going to quickly show another example as well. Here's another example. So you can create all kinds of these sort of nice swirly designs using symmetry. So what I'm going to do is go to a completely, I can say fresh document, but that was the source of the design. So go back to new, and then I'm using a pen. So don't have to use a pen, you can obviously just use a standard. But the key thing here is use down here to edit in quick mask mode. Now I've got black as the colour because I'm going to use a brush. So just go over to the brushes here, and now just going to go to this one, and I'm going to use a hard round. So a general brush is hard round, and you can vary the size, make it thin. So I'm going for like 35 or 40 or 100 even, it's up to you. But make certain the hardness is set to 100%. So what you can do then is simply apply it. And you can apply a variety. Now you'll see instead of black, obviously it's coming out because of the mask. You can create all kinds of designs. You don't have to go with that, but you can maybe create a sort of zigzag design. And of course you don't have to use this brush, but it's just nice to do with that sort of. Right, so I've got that design. But I could create spirals, could create multiple different, you could also add additional markings, etc. to it like that. Up to you. Then what you can do, you can come out of that mode. So just go down here again and click. And now what you've got is this lovely selection. Now there is no, unless someone's going to point it out in the various comments, that there is a selection brush. Well, as far as I'm aware, there isn't. Affinity Photo's got a nice one. That's got a feature where you can just do this. But Photoshop, I'm not certain if it exists. So what you have to do, unfortunately, you have to invert it. So select and inverse. And now you've got this nice selection, which you can fill. Now you can fill it with images, brush strokes. I'm going to go with gradients. So just go there, gradient, just select a gradient, any of the gradients will do, and apply it. And you can apply it multiple times, so you can create all kinds of different designs. So once you've done, go over to Edit and Copy, because what I want to do is put it into the clipboard or pasteboard, and then I want to paste it again, because I want it on a layer. So I've just done that, copied it, and then I'm going to paste it. So I've got it pasted, and I'm going to go to the layers. Can't see that, window and layers. Simply just go to the background and delete it. So now you've got that design. What you can then do is you can go over to, say, layer style, and bevel and emboss. And you can just bevel and emboss it. And of course can vary these settings. You can go for emboss and so on and so on. I like to go with that one in a bevel. And of course you could also select, if you want, just select one of the standard styles. Go to window and styles. You can also add other things as well, but I'm just going to go with that. Depth. And I can vary that just until I'm quite happy with that lovely design there. Click OK. Then go over to this rectangular marquee tool, or just define the whole document. It's quite close to the edge, so it's just as easy. Just go to Edit and Define Pattern. So now once you've done that, what you can do, you can go to this document, or you create a new document, of course. I'm going to clear that. And now I could create it on a layer, so I could just go to Layer and New Layer. Perfectly reasonable to do that, but I'm just going to apply it on the current background. So Edit and Fill. Go for Pattern. Make certain you select the pattern you just created. There's that design there. And then make certain the script is on. I always like to do that a couple of times. For some weird reason, Photoshop seems to have a slight quirk and it ignores it sometimes. So it's always best to make certain it's definitely set. Click OK. And then what you can do, you can go in here and you've got pattern scale. And I normally set it to a fairly high value. Depends what I want to do. If I wanted just to closely confine, very small, just change the scale to maybe make it very low. But you can also push it up to the max. Unfortunately, you can't push it greater than that. I don't know why you can't. It would be nice if you could set it to 2 or 3 or 4. But for some weird reason, they've set the max. Then also you can set the pattern translation as well. Now often I set that to 0, one of them to 0 anyway. You can set that one to 0 or set that other one to 0, perfectly reasonable. And then just change it. Just use the slider and you can see, move that around. And you can look at it and decide which one you want. I'm just going to go for, that looks fair. Now, unfortunately, there's no zoom feature in this, so you can't really zoom in to see what the design is. So you have to really look at that and think, looks okay. Could require a little bit more tweak. And I've got color randomness as well, set to high, as well as brightness. So you can see a lot of color added into it, variation. Click OK. And then you've got the design there. And now it depends on the design you've created. Obviously, that initial source design, you'll get a different result. And of course, what you can do, if you want to, you can always go to Edit and Fill. Click OK again. Make certain it's on. I say sometimes you might go and do it and it will just run as a normal fill for some weird reason. And what you can do, you can always just vary it. Don't have to have exactly the same. Click OK again. And you can see you can apply it over on top again. And again, Edit and Fill. Again, click that, double click that, click OK, and maybe just change it just subtly. And you can see then you can completely fill the design. And then once you've got this, of course, what you can do, you can always go and recolor it if you wish. Maybe go to various filters, maybe such my favourite one, filter and stylize and oil paint if it's accessible. And then you can see design there. I'm going for 8.7, 8.3. Of course, you can vary it. You can also go for lighting if you want. Up to you. You can tweak all those sort of settings. Now, most of the time, I generally don't go for lighting. I've never felt that Photoshop has got that greater feature in terms of giving that, compared with something like Painter. I mean, there's a great feature, apply surface texture. I would love to see that in Photoshop. However, there's never been that feature. You can get plugins to do it, but it's never so easy, I think, in Photoshop. You can do it, of course you can do it, but it requires a little bit more sort of effort instead of just a simple, quite easy tool to apply. So you've got that design there. And you can, of course, with all these filters, it's always great to apply it a couple of times. So oil paint, say filter, oil paint. And then what you can do, you can, of course, apply various fades, etc., if you wish. You can also go to image, adjustments, maybe vibrance, because what it does, that oil paint one always seems to make it just a bit duller, I always think. So I would go to vibrance, so I can just push it up a little bit more, so it makes it a lot brighter. Sadly, the centre bit just gives it too much of a blur, I think. There's no control over that. It would be nice if you could just tweak it slightly so you could modify different areas. I suppose you could use maybe selections or something like that just to modify it slightly. But however, there's the end result, this design. And of course, if I vary it, just go to maybe a different design. And of course, you can do that. You've got 3D, you can use that. You can also go to filter, maybe liquefy. And then you can distort the design. So you can tweak that. Now, sometimes, of course, once you do it, you lose that nice, just sharp design. So it's not always the best one, but you can distort it if you wish. You can also, of course, modify it like that. Maybe apply it a couple of times. Hold down the shift. So you can just squeeze it in like that. Up to you. Or you can duplicate it. Hold down the Alt option. Hold that down and then duplicate that design. So you can create all kinds of sort of unusual zigzag designs like that. And then hold down Alt or Option again. And you see you can create a far more complex design. And once you've got that, of course, what you can do, you can go to Edit and Define Pattern and use that. And there's literally thousands of different designs you can create using this approach to end up with a very powerful, colourful design. Something similar to this, obviously. I mean, it sort of depends on the source material you start with to create the end result. But this is a great way of creating these really super colourful designs. So now you've got this design. Well, you can also, of course, extend it. You don't have to have this really nice, obviously, flowing outwards like this. You can use selections again. Selections are really great. Now, of course, you could use a similar approach that you did before, right at the start, to create design. Maybe go to quick mask again, select that, again go to the brushes, and just go like that, and then maybe change the size. You don't have to go with that size, and then just apply that over there. And again, just apply it. Very, very basic design like that. Deselect. Again, you've got this selection. You can see the design there. What you can do, you can invert that. Now, of course, what you can also do, you can also go to select. There's a number of options. You can maybe apply a feather to that, maybe 5, 10 or something like that. And you've got this design has been feathered. And again, what you can do edit and copy, or Control C, etc. And then paste. And then, of course, what you can then do, you can remove this back. Where's the layers? There's the layers over there. You can then go remove that design, and you can say yes. And you've got this design here. And of course, you can do exactly the same as before. Layer style, bevel emboss. And you can vary that. And once you've done that, of course, you can click OK, and you can define that as a pattern. So edit and define pattern. And so you can create some very unusual designs like with that. So that's defined as a pattern now. Of course, what you can do, you can go back to, or maybe create another document just quickly. It's not something a bit bigger than that. Oh, it's 3000 by 3000. So I've got that design there. And what you can do, edit and fill, pattern, make certain it's there. Go to the pattern you just added there, and then make certain script is on again. Symmetry fill. Click OK, and you can see the design there. And of course, you can then modify these settings, apply it like that. And again, color randomness. Now, you might not want to set that color randomness. You might like to set it, just keep it all consistently the same. So don't have to have that color randomization. Click OK, and you can see your design there, and you can see all that kind of design. But also, what you can also do, I'm just going to go back now to the other document, just going to go back, and instead of doing that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go back to this original design. So this is the design I had right. Basically, I was thinking about finishing on, but you can extend it even more. So what you can do, you just go over here, and I always like to do this, is go to Elliptical Marquee tool, and then instead of having this area, which I find slightly a dull looking area, I like to actually select this bit of part of it, just anywhere actually, but just say select like that. So nice circular design there. Again, edit and copy. You can see a consistent pattern here. Edit and copy, and then paste again. So Control V, etc. And then you've got this layer. So it's just a layer. You can see you can move it around. And then what you can do, you can obviously alter option, and you can just fill the entire design with this. Now you can vary the size, of course. You don't have to go with the size there. So make it a bit smaller, and you can rotate it. You can also, of course, go to Layer and Smart Objects, Convert to Smart Object, and then rotate that design. Hold down the Alt, rotate it again, up to you, and just fill the entire design with this design. And you can, of course, use this circular design as a source for a pattern as well. Perfectly reasonable as well. You can see you can create, instead of just a very nice sort of central design, you've got this lovely, beautiful, colourful. Now you can see, of course, you've got this edge. Now I could have used maybe feathering to make it slightly better, but another option is, once I've done all that, I'm just going to go to Layer and flatten the entire image, and then go to Filter, and again, Filter, Stylize and Oil Paint. Maybe apply it a couple of times, settings like 8.7, 8.3, click OK. And you can see what you get is a slightly more random design, so that's sort of nice, very central, which you may or may not want. Again, the problem always with this is that I think needs a bit of adjustment. So image menu, adjustments, and I say maybe go for invert, or maybe not. Image, adjustments, and vibrance, just to slightly brighten it up. I like it brighter like that. So you've got your design there. and you can see you can create all kinds of very unusual, interesting, and also, of course, you can look at that and say, well, that looks a real nice sort of texture. You might not want the colour. So what you can do, image adjustments, black and white, and you can see then you've got this design. You can tweak the settings for the reds, so you can get a bit of depth there, nice bit of brown there, vary that, and you can just keep, I think that looks really, really intense. So you've got really nice sort of background texture to your design. Of course, you can use that in a variety of maybe 3D, maybe many other ways. Hope you found this tutorial of interest. Please subscribe to the Graphic Extra channel, always adding new tutorials about Photoshop, Affinity Photo, Illustrator, Krita, Rebel, and many, many other applications. Also, please add some comments. What sort of things would you like to see using maybe this approach? I can try other tutorials, create other tutorials, maybe explain various things if things are not particularly well stated, quite possible, and also other things. What other things would you think that you can do with this approach? And maybe, like I say, I can explore that as well and create a tutorial about that. A dislike or like, always appreciated as well. Thank you much.